everybody, to the Hot Tag Hooligans Wrestling Podcast Show with myself, Aaron, and Tom. You know, Tom, there's many things that go into a great wrestling match or a great wrestling event. The talent, the fans, but one of those things is the entrances and the entrance music itself, because it gets the crowd hyped, or it can immediately make the crowd start booing. And tonight on this episode, we are going to break down our top entrances of all time. And this will be based upon the music, not necessarily just the pyro and stuff like that. Music only. And to help us do that, JR Huffman and Aaron Silvers are back. How's it going, gentlemen?
Very well. Glad to be back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, glad to be here as always, man. Can't
So
wait for this.
before we get started, let's dive deep into this real quick, because I want to just gain your interest on how you based your decision, because I'm sure there's a lot. I'll go first. So what I kind of did is I think I'm kind of like y'all. There's 100 theme songs we love. We can sing them in our cars. We can ride down the highway with it and just jam all day long. I kind of went with, in my thought process, of really what I really thought was the best of all time. I do have one that I think is currently the best of all time. And then I have, of course, a favorite. That's how I kind of did mine a little bit. But to me, I mean, I can see those really being my top three. JR, how'd you base your decision tonight?
Well, it's funny you ask because I had to switch it and move it, and some of them I based on the most impactful. If I were to turn my back to a television, which entrance theme would cause me to turn around and just blow my mind? Because I finally had to add that kind of dynamic to it. Because, like you said, there's 100 of them I could listen to. Some that have words, some that's just the theme song themselves, some original, even some that were, actual songs that were out back in the day. So that's kind of how I based my list.
What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, so I kind of give myself some guidelines, but I broke them along the way. But I first started out by saying, I'm not gonna put something on the list that's not an original. I'm not gonna put those songs on there that was by an artist outside the wrestling business. That was my thought process. I'm gonna try to do something different. But then I started going down my list of who should be on this list, and I'm like, it's hard for me not to put some of these folks on here. So if that kind of gives you a hint of what this list is going to look like, I got a good mix, I believe.
Tom?
So there is so many, like you said, there's so many great entrance songs. But one thing that I wanted to do is I am incorporating a current indie talents entrance, because one of the things that I look at is how the song impacts the entrance and how it makes me feel in the moment. And most of the shows that I see these days are independent shows, live. I maybe go to a WWE show, once a year, but I go to a lot more independent shows. So I definitely wanted to throw that in the mix as well, even though I think to a lot of people it would never be in their top three because it's an independent. I did want to add that in, so I am including an independent. But other than that, a lot of it just has to be the feel of when that music hits, how it makes me feel, and that's how I determined my top.
Yeah, this is, like I said, if you ask me a week from now, I'll probably have 5 different other ones. But, Tom even told me that he spent the other night, him and his wife, and they were actually jotting down stuff. I've jotted down stuff all week, more than I have for any list that we've done. I've actually gone through and kind of closed my eyes and listened and see what I could visualize when the music hit, and just some childhood memories popping up with me as well. I'll start the list off, though. We'll go with number 3 for me. And when this music hit, you knew someone was about to die. And it is so iconic. And it breaks Aaron's rule of it can't be something. But my God. Oh, and you lost me here on the video. Sorry, folks. Hold on one second. There we go. When this music hit, it was just something overpowering, and people would go crazy. and it is none other than Iron Man by Ozzy Osbourne and the Road Warriors itself, one of the most iconic music entrances of all time. And the crazy thing is years later, the Road Warriors still had even more iconic music with their "Oh What a Rush" theme song. But this music right here was my childhood, growing up in the early '80s, and just the believability of what pro wrestling was at the time. This was legit. And if you were a young kid and this music came on, you probably started hiding behind your parents because, like I said, it meant pure destruction on its way. So the Road Warriors, Iron Will by Ozzy Osbourne is number 3 for me. Thoughts, Aaron?
I couldn't agree more with that. That started where I X'd off part of my list when I began, because I'm like, I want to stay away from not original songs, and that was still iconic. I can't disagree with that at all. That's definitely a song that will never be forgotten. And you're right, exactly. Whenever you hear that song hit, somebody was about to get demolished. So definitely iconic song for all wrestling fans.
JR, this is in your wheelhouse. What do you think?
Well, I don't want to spoil my number 3, but I totally agree with you on this because, as you know, I grew up in the early '80s as well, and I was probably wasn't even a teenager. I was probably 10, 11 years old, and at that time, I wasn't afraid. I mean, any kind of boom noise or any kind of destruction like that. I grew up when the real movie The Road Warrior came out. And I loved all that kind of chaos. And when they came out, it just absolutely, I just went crazy. So that is an amazing pick. And again, I hate to spoil your thunder, but I totally agree. And that is my number 3 pick as well. Not to get ahead of things, but I'm on the exact same page as you.
Yeah, go ahead if you want to elaborate a little bit more then on why you chose it.
Yeah, I remember a tag team called the Mulkey Brothers, and I always loved seeing them in the ring. They were, of course, developmental or enhancement talent, I guess you would call it. And when I saw them standing in the ring, and it was close to the end of the show, I knew exactly who was going to be coming out to face them. And when they did, they slid in the ring. The song hadn't even got half over, and they got the match was already over. They just went in and destroyed everything. And I love that about them. And you were right. I love the What a Rush theme song to WWE.
Yeah, there ain't much to add to it. It's a great entrance. Like I said, there's so many good ones. It's not in my top 3, but would definitely be in my top 10.
All right, Tom, let's go to your number 3.
All right, so my number 3 is my independent pick, and it's All My Friends Are Dead, Cole Radrick. And it's just something about that. It's just gets me hyped when he comes out, and it fits him. I don't know. There's just something about it. And it's chaos, but it gets you hyped up for the match. And I think it stands out amongst a lot of them on the independents, where a lot of them just have some cool songs and things like that. His, to me, stands out as more original for a pro wrestling entrance.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there and seen Cole many times. As soon as that "All My Friends Are Dead," it kind of gives that moniker of here comes someone through the curtain that has nothing to lose anymore. And that's kind of the way Cole wrestles. And the crowd always seems to chant it back, and they love it as well. Good pick though, number 3. Aaron, have you been around to see Cole?
Yeah, so I've seen Cole Radrick a couple times actually with GCW and with Black Label Pro up in Indianapolis. He was up there during the Squared Circle X this year. I've heard that song a couple times, and definitely a great song. I mean, it didn't make my top 3, but again, it's definitely a great song that gets pumped, gets a crowd pumped, and again, Cole's great talent. So definitely appreciate the pick.
Sarah?
I can't remember this song off the top of my head. I do remember that his theme song when he came out, and I was up there with Aaron. We went to GCW, and I really loved that. There was a few of them during that show I'd never heard before, and I thought they were great entrance themes as well. But definitely, that's really, really good pick. And I'm going to look it up as soon as I get off here to refresh my memory.
All right, Aaron, let's go to you with your number 3.
Yeah, so my number 3, I'm going to base this off of a live experience I had of this song. I think it was about '06. I may be a year off on the year, but it was at Indianapolis Great American Bash when I seen Batista make a return. Batista with this song and his pyro included. I was lucky enough to have floor seats that year, and with that pyro and when that music hit, the ground of that place shook, and I'll never forget it. I listen to it every time I go to the gym. It's "I Walk Alone" by Saliva. It's literally one of those songs that, when I hear it, it gets me pumped. I feel like I can pretty much lift anything at the gym at any point in time when I'm listening to that. Obviously I can't, but that's the way I feel. And, I'm usually lifting by myself. So pretty much when I hit that door and I got my beats on and that's playing, I'm ready to rock. So, and I can't say that probably anybody's going to disagree with that one. It's iconic to me for a lot of reasons, but Batista was the perfect guy to have that Saliva "I Walk Alone."
I love I Walk Alone. It's actually in my playlist. I don't think I like any other Saliva song. That's the crazy thing about pro wrestling, right? They have these artists do these songs, and I probably don't like a lot of the songs that these artists sing, except for the pro wrestling songs. But yeah, I'm with you. When he does the machine gun and he does the boom, it's great. It fits him perfectly. And even before then, he had a really good entrance theme. I know you may not remember it quite well, but it was actually pretty good too. Right when he was first starting with Evolution, it was good. But "I Walk Alone" is definitely iconic. Tom, "I Walk Alone."
Yeah, it's a perfect entrance music for Batista, and if we were doing a top 5, it would probably be in my top 5.
It's a big one. JR?
Yeah. Back when Batista came out, I took a break from wrestling for a while. When I got back in, he was already very established. I think he'd already won the title. So I went back and kind of started with the earlier part of his career. And that's the first thing that caught me. I saw him, I saw the way he wrestled, his size, speed, everything about him. But it was that entrance theme. I've heard a couple of Saliva songs that I like earlier back when they came out, but that's definitely one that it's actually on one of my playlists as well. Not for working out, but just I tried my hand at playing the drums for that one time. Wasn't too shabby, but I really love that aggressive style, and I love that sound. And just like you all said, that fits in perfect.
Aaron made a good point about artists making songs for specific people. And then sometimes it is the wrestlers who reach out to the artist as well. And it is kind of an original song, and then it takes off on the charts because of the wrestlers. And that kind of brings me to my number 2 pick. I don't like any other song by this group, like I said, but I think it's the best entrance music going today, and that is by Alter Bridge, and it's Edges, and it's Metalingus. I love that song. From the very first time it came out, the chorus is classic. Of course, they added a "You Think You Know Me" to it to kind of go along with it, but it's a very iconic song. And to me, that's my favorite one out today. Anytime I hear that, I can turn around real quick and kind of sing it. And I've been in the crowd numerous of times. The crowd loves it as well. Number 2 for me is Edge's theme music. Tom?
It's a good pick. Not in my top 10, but I mean it's good. It fits him. They did a good job with it.
Aaron?
Yeah, so I'm going to agree with you on this one. This one is probably not too far away from a top 5 for me. Edge is a perfect person for this. I mean, he put it all together with a great entrance, and he does it every time with that Alter Bridge song. The pyro included, and with the stance that he makes, and the lights and flashing, and you name it, everything that is put into that entrance. Edge is always going to be known for an iconic entrance, and this is his everyday entrance. So how great is that this is an everyday entrance, and we're putting this as a top 5 pick of greatest songs of all time wrestling. So, that says a lot. And again, great pick.
Jared, what do you think about Edges?
I've been an Edge fan. Kind of tapered off throughout the years, but when he first come out, he was one of those new wrestlers that I kind of clamored to. I really liked his look. I didn't really like it when he turned heel and went to the Brew, but then I loved it after, years and years. It became an iconic song, and I thought, for an original song, I like the way that they created the original music for that. But just like you, when Alter Bridge put the "You Think You Know Me" and added that double bass in there and added some heavy metal to it, some heavy metal to that, and I was like, man, that's made it even better. So I love that. That's a great pick. That's probably my top 5 as well.
All right, let's go with you with your number 2.
All right. So I've just like whenever you watch a draft like NFL or NBA, sometimes they can have put in their mind who they want to pick. And then at the last minute, they can change things based on the needs. So just to talk from Tom's indie pick and stuff that really gets him going. When I used to work out, I had to replace this with, I had to replace one of the best entrance songs of all time, but this is probably my favorite in 20 years. And it was Aleister Black's original song by Agent Orange. When he came out in NXT, I am telling you, that entrance and the way that he rose up, I would tear a wall down. I'd probably go to the hospital, but I would tear a wall down and listen to that song. That song gets me pumped every time, and I loved that entrance. So I got to put that in number 2.
That entrance along with Alistair rising up, WWE had money right there on the table. They had their next big superstar if they really wanted it. And then they changed his music and did nothing with him. I love Aleister Black. I love his theme music. And it's crazy because you just mentioned that, and I had totally forgot about how much I love that music. I think that's the cool thing about these lists. When we do this stuff, we start remembering, like, oh my gosh, yes, that's so great. I'm actually going to listen to that now as soon as we get off this podcast. But I do love that. Tom, Aleister Black.
It's a great pick. Not one that I was thinking about, but absolutely great pick.
Aaron?
Yeah, so first of all, I guess I don't want to be around when JR hears it because I don't want to see him tear down walls or anything, but I'm sure it would put you in the mood. I definitely agree with it would be in one of those songs that hits. I agree also with, that song and Aleister Black in general was money, and they gave that up. When I first saw Aleister Black's entrance, whenever he did the Rise Up and that song, immediately Undertaker popped into my head. I'm like, this is the next Undertaker if they run with it. That was in my head immediately. Well, guess what? They fumbled it. He's somewhere else. And another great entrance now today. But again, his original there with that, I can't agree more. That's a great pick.
I would love for WWE to have the House of Black, all 3 of them. It's just so marketable. Or all 4 of them with Julia as well. It's just so marketable. I can't believe that the pushes that they're getting is not where it should be. It's a faction. They're unbelievable. All right, Tom, you're number 2.
So my number 2 is probably not on any of your lists for sure. So this is mainly selected because even today when I hear this music, I think about it. It brings a smile to my face. It brings me back to that era. It brings me back to how fun wrestling was at the time, and that's the New Age Outlaws. Yeah, maybe the music isn't necessarily the greatest, but as far as music goes, but it always always wanted to sing along with it or rap along. What do you call it? A rap? Is it really rap? Whatever it is, I was right there with them on every word and loved every minute of it. And if for some reason they got cut off and couldn't do it, I was always upset about it. So for me, that's one. If somebody's playing a video and it comes on now, I want to sing along. It gives me that feeling. It's a very positive feeling about wrestling that I will always have and always love.
Definitely iconic. And it's one of those like what JR's talking about. The moment you hear it, you'll turn around and you know what it is immediately. And I think that's just what we want out of theme music sometimes. There's people that can be really good superstars and their careers could really take off a whole lot more if there was more thought put in toward their theme music than what the WWE hands them or AEW hands them. And the Outlaws basically, like you're talking about, the music itself is very mediocre. But when you add together the lines that were said, it made it iconic. So great pick. Yeah. Aaron, Outlaws.
Yeah, so another great pick. Almost made my top three. I will. I'm going to disagree with you, Tom. Though, as far as the music itself, it wasn't bad. Not bad at the music at all. I enjoyed the guitar in it. I enjoyed the beat of it. You're right. With as soon as you heard the oh you didn't know, the crowd automatically knew that they were getting ready to get a cool entrance and they're going to be able to interact with it. So definitely a great pick. Definitely iconic. And like I said, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think it was actually good music.
JR, the Outlaws.
Oh, I love the New Age Outlaws. I couldn't agree with Tom more. Um, I had different periods through my life. I've been watching wrestling probably 42 years, maybe 45. And I've heard, not early when I was young, but I remember all the songs that were actually, recorded songs on, billboards and things like that. But when they came out with original music, there was a lot that I liked and a lot I didn't like. But I really love the New Age Outlaws, and I'm with Aaron on this one. I really love the music and the guitars, and the words and placement they put in between each one of those breaks was perfect, and it drew everybody in. Everybody knew, even if they were having a slump and maybe they were having a losing streak or something, if you knew they were coming out, you were going to be entertained. And that's what I loved about it. Love that pick.
Aaron, you're number two.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with this one here, and this one was pretty much. I probably heard it before this, but the first time I remember it being introduced to me was on the original VHS Pile Driver, the music videos, and I'll never forget the video. I still remember it today, and that is Demolition's Rick Derringer. That music is just as iconic to me as what Legion of Doom or Road Warriors are. I love the Demolition, always have. I've been pretty upset that they're not in the Hall of Fame yet. But this music was great. Again, you knew somebody was about to get destroyed when you heard this song. Business was about to pick up, if you will, whenever this song came on. And Rick Derringer was one of those that was instrumental in this song. So Jimmy Hart was a part of this song. And several others that it's a big list that was a part of this song. And again, it's iconic to me, and not just for the song itself, but again, that Pile Driver music video VHS, I still have it today. And I remember that music video. So again, I had to go with this in one of my top three.
I agree. Demolition should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't understand what the politics is behind that. And I'm kind of with you. That music fit them 100%. And I know they were kind of a copy of the Road Warriors for the WWE, but they were believable. And they did a fantastic job. And that music fit them perfectly. Tom, Demolition.
Yeah, I mean that's a great pick. There's so many good entrance themes. That one never even came across my radar. But now, as you're talking about it, I'm like, man, if I were to go through my top 10 again, it would definitely have to be on it. And it wasn't even one I thought of. So fantastic pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think me and Aaron's actually had this talk probably months ago. I think we were working in Bowling Green. We were talking about entrance themes and bringing them up. And Demolition, it came up. They'd be in my top 10, possibly, hovering around top 5. And again, that goes back to my childhood as well. When I was younger, that was another one of those theme songs that just really stood out, and I loved it. I love the presence, the aura around that team. And when I was young, I loved the Road Warriors and I loved Demolition. I never put the two against each other. I mean, they did years later when the Legion of Doom came around, but I loved them in their own entity, and that couldn't have been a better song for them. That was a great pick. I love it.
All right, before we get to number one, I want everyone just to go around. Let's give one of our favorite theme songs of all time that didn't make your list, that it's not top tier, but it's one of your favorites, and then give me two alternatives. So I'll start. One of my favorites of all time is D-Lo Brown. I'm a huge D-Lo guy, so that one was always there for me. And then two that didn't make my list that were very close were the Broods theme music, Edge, Gangrel, and Christian. Absolutely love that goth feel to it. And then I had to go to ECW for my other, and it's the Natural Born Killers. It's Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, and it's New Jacks. And by God, that music played the entire match. And when you talked about the violence, that was definitely it. And if it never fit one character more in wrestling history, then New Jack's music fit in him. So that was my honorable mentions and my favorites. JR, what's a favorite and two honorable mentions?
All right. So one of my favorites of all time. This faction was iconic. When I say faction and it's old school, you can narrow it down to a few. But I absolutely loved when I heard this faction come out, and I heard these horses galloping, and then I heard this electric guitar kick, and the Four Horsemen is my favorite. I love that theme song. It was very underrated. It kind of laid back in the pocket, but when they heard they were coming out, and I loved the Four Horsemen theme song. My two honor mentions. This is Space Odyssey. I was going to say Ric Flair. I loved hearing that song of Ric Flair's. It was very orchestrated, no pun intended, but it was very magic. And when he came out, he carried that song to a T. And I love that about Ric Flair. That's one of my favorite entrance themes of all time. And then I cannot go without my other honorable mention, which actually got black, and that is Stone Cold Steve Austin. I absolutely love that theme song. Just like I said, when you hear that song, that glass breaks, it just exploded. And those are my two honorable mentions. And my
Tom, your favorite and two honorable mentions.
All right, so I'm gonna go with my favorite that didn't make the list is gonna be Dusty Rhodes' "Common Man" song. It's just something about it. I mean, I love Dusty, but like, I don't know. There's just something about that song that makes you feel good, you know. And then to steal from the wife's list that she made, I totally agree with her on. And so both of these songs she had on her list, and the one I like the entrance music a whole lot better than I like the act, and that's "Carry On My Wayward Son," Kansas for the Elite. Absolutely love that entrance, and if they just stopped at the entrance, it'd be a lot better day at the office for them. I know I'm hating, but yeah, I just absolutely love that song, and that made her top three. And her other one was actually Effie, the Yellow Brick Road. And I totally agree. That is a fantastic song for independent wrestling. It's one of those songs that everybody knows, that everybody seems to know at all the shows that we go to. And it just works perfect for his act.
Aaron?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with one of my favorites for sure, and it's actually going right now. We don't get to see it as often as I'd like, is Karrion Kross entrance right now, with the way he puts it all together with the music and Scarlett involved. It's a great song. I don't know if anybody really listens to it that closely or not, but obviously it is a remake from a song over the years that's been redone in different versions. With that, with the end is near. It's been a part of pay-per-views in years past in different forms, and those types of things. A lot of people didn't know that until you pointed out to them. But I think it's a great song, and that's one of my favorites going right now. I can't go without putting an honorable mention out there. Of course, Motorhead, the game, Triple H, another one that pumps me up every time I hear it. You can't help but get pumped up about it. And I mean, that song's iconic everywhere, even outside the wrestling world. You hear that song at sports events. I've heard it at numerous events before, and and again, another one of my songs on my playlist when I do lift. So great song, Motorhead. And then the other song that I'll put on the list, of course, and I'm just going to go ahead and put one of JR's on here, the same Four Horsemen. And I don't know how many different versions of the Four Horsemen song was out there, but the one that sticks out to me the most is the Nitro version. WCW's version of the Four Horsemen song just sticks out to me for some reason. It just feels like they went a little harder on the guitar in that one, and I loved it. And I can't say that the factions during that time of Four Horsemen was the best overall, but that music was definitely great. So that's what my honorable mention / favorites look like.
Yeah, that guitar and the Horseman music's great. It just really is. It's fantastic. All right, number one time. So, like I said, it can change week to week, day to day, and I may have cheated here a little bit. So, 'cause I cheat sometimes. So here we go. So number one for me, and I'll just say this: it's Hulk Hogan. It's Real American, and it's the NWO theme music. I mean, both are two of the most iconic musics in all of pro wrestling history. And I'll start with Real American because, man, that is my childhood, 100%. When that music hit, it was pandemonium for a good 9 to 10 years of my childhood, and it was fantastic. Even today, even though he soured on a bunch of us, if that music hit, everyone pops. It's an unbelievable pop for it. On the flip side of that is how well the Jimi Hendrix version worked as well. For the good Hulk Hogan versus the bad Hulk Hogan, my gosh, they were too perfect. You couldn't have any two more perfect types of music. So Hulk Hogan for me, I'll just say that Hulk Hogan for me is number one, and it's fantastic music all around. I could really listen to both of those all day, traveling and have no problem with it. Aaron, what's your thoughts on Hogan's?
My thoughts are pretty solid with what you're saying, to be honest with you. I might as well go ahead and tell you that's my number one also. My number one is the Voodoo Child, of course, Jimi Hendrix version. I can put Real American on any list that I have, of course, because anybody that knows me in wrestling, Hulk Hogan's my guy. Good, bad, or ugly, anytime, even today. Never lost faith there. Hogan's always been my guy. He's the one that really got me attracted to wrestling. And whenever the July 7th of 96 happened, I'm like, what's going to happen now? Then we come out with the Jimi Hendrix Voodoo Child song, and I'm like, this is cool as hell. So really cool. It really set off the gimmick that he had going then. And I mean, it really put things, it was one of those songs that I can hear it right now playing when Michael Buffer's announcing him coming to the ring during, I think it was Starrcade, I believe, coming out to that song. It just, to me, that was number one on my list also for a lot of reasons. And especially with him being Hulk Hogan, there's a reason I'm wearing the shirt tonight, the icon.
So everyone heard Aaron has never lost faith. He is still saying his prayers and eating his vitamins daily. Right there. There you go.
Absolutely.
JR, your thoughts on our pick, and then your number one.
All right. Well, I've loved Hulk Hogan ever since I was a young kid. When I went in the Navy, I was famously known for doing a lot of Hulk Hogan impressions. I even got the nickname Hulk Huff. So I was a Hulk maniac from day one. I loved Hulk Hogan. Sting is my ultimate one, as always. I will never veer from that. But I got to give him his props, and I love the Real American gimmick. And I was very, very upset when he turned heel, but it didn't take long for me to turn with him. Because I was all about, the baby face, but then I fell into that element of the coolness and that anarchy that he was bringing. I loved. And I'll be honest, I just thought that Voodoo Child was an okay song until Hogan made it his theme song, and I thought that's one of the baddest damn songs I've ever heard. So it elevated that song because he put his entrance to it. So I love that pick. That's a great number one. And I'll go ahead and share with you all another iconic, another icon, another legend. And this music, when you hear this, you know exactly what's about to happen. And my number one theme music of all time is the original Undertaker. It is something that it stops everyone in their tracks, and then they explode. And the probably the best original character of all time, if there has to be one, in my opinion. I love the Undertaker. I'm not gonna take from the podcast man himself, but American Badass was pretty good too. The Kid Rock version, I really like that. But all in all, my number one favorite entrance of all time, because you knew someone was about to rest in peace, and that was the Undertaker. Favorite theme song of all time.
Even the Limp Bizkit Rollin' was good with the Undertaker. The only one I didn't like was the Dead Man Walking one. I really couldn't stand that one at all. But Undertaker's had some fantastic themes. Tom, you're number one.
So first, I want to give my input on Hogan and the Undertaker. Okay. So Hogan, is fantastic. But Eye of the Tiger, I thought was better than Real American for Hogan. And that's just my opinion. I absolutely love Eye of the Tiger. I don't know if it's because just I'm a huge Rocky fan, but I absolutely would be pumped when he would come out to that music. Obviously, I watched it much later, not when it was happening, but to me, and it could be because by the time that I watched it, the Real American thing was kind of like old news at that point, and I was discovering him coming out to Eye of the Tiger, and it just blew my mind. I was like, now this is the song to get you ready for a fight. And I thought that was fantastic. And as far as the Undertaker goes, that's a great pick. But one that wasn't mentioned that I really liked was his Johnny Cash song, Ain't No Grave.
Yep.
I thought that was an absolutely good entrance theme for the Undertaker as well.
Sure was.
All right, so my number one is Stone Cold Steve Austin, because to me, there's nothing better than that glass. I don't care if it's 1998 or if we're watching SummerSlam coming up and that music hits. I'm still going to feel the same way, and maybe that's a possibility. You know what I mean? For many years, we would have never thought we would ever get a Stone Cold match, and then we ended up having one. We used to joke about Stone Cold winning the Royal Rumble because of a guy we work with, and then here he comes. Now he's going to have a match with Kevin Owens. So anything's possible these days. So I would pop just as hard if his music hits in 2023 as I would in 1998.
Yeah, can't go wrong with the glass breaking. There was a version of it during the invasion angle they went with that wasn't as good. Kind of like the Down with the Sickness type version of it. Didn't care for that, but yeah, you're right. If you smell what the Rock is cooking, glass breaking, even John Cena's little hiss at the beginning, those are just iconic. Get you ready for it. Austin's fantastic. That's a really good pick. Aaron?
Yeah, I can't dispute that at all, because we all know when that glass breaks, it's going to be somebody's ass, and in his words. And it's facts. It's been proven over and over. That's been made iconic, not just the song, but some of the entrances over the years where they actually broke the glass for him to come out. Pretty cool stuff. I'm definitely in total agreement that Stone Cold should definitely be on this list.
Yeah.
He made my honorable mention. Of course, I love that song. The more you all bring your picks up, I think to myself like, man, I want that one too. I want that one too. But again, it's only the top three, and that I mean, once that song came out, I mean, it's just like we talked about Hogan and Voodoo Child. He elevated that song, and it made him an icon in the wrestling business. Had he kept that Ringmaster song and still had that attitude, it would not have been the same. He would not be at legendary status of where he's at. That song with his character change totally took him, if not on someone, if not a lot of people's Mount Rushmore. And I love that pick.
One thing that we didn't have on the list that I did notice, so there wasn't any female. So real quick, what's everyone's favorite female entrance music going right now? And this is nothing against the female talent. I just want everyone to know. It's just they didn't make our list. But Tom, if you had to choose, who's your favorite female entrance music right now?
Probably Becky Lynch. Yeah, I just think it's lively, I guess is the word I would use. Whereas a lot of them, it's whatever. I think hers gets people a little bit more pumped up than some of the other ones do. I just don't think, and I don't know because I don't know how they decide on what the songs are going to be and if they get much of a choice. I just don't think they put near the effort into anything they do with the women as much as they do to the men, and it's a shame.
For me, I really like Sasha Banks' WWE theme song, Mercedes Moné's WWE theme song. I always thought that really fit her. Have the Snoop Dogg kind of help her out with that as well. It was great. On the Indies, I love Billy Starks. It fits her fantastically. So, JR, you?
Ronda Rousey's Joan Jett, Bad Reputation. And again, Ronda's probably not my favorite wrestler, but that song is really, really cool. And when Joan Jett, even though it was at midnight, Joan Jett played her out to that song, I thought that was badass. And I love that, like Tom said, I love that upbeat. And there's a few out there that I really like. I love Charlotte's too. I don't want to ruin anybody else's, but those two together are probably my top favorites. But I love Bad Reputation the most.
Aaron?
Well, I'm going to go with one that I've been disappointed from day one with how they use her. It doesn't seem like they can figure out how to use her correctly, and that's Nikki Cross. Her song, originally was Sanity, and then now on her own, she has her own spin of that song. I think that's a great song. I love that song, but it's not fitting her well at this point. It's depressing because I think she could do so much more. They just haven't figured out what works for her. But that song's great, so I'm gonna go with Nikki Cross.
Talking about a group that had a fantastic entrance, that was Sanity.
Absolutely.
When they first, man, that was a really good one. NXT had it going on back in the day. I mean,
Yes,
that's to it. NXT really had it going on. Well, guys, thanks a lot. I mean, that's pretty good. We had a lot of differences, and like I said, so much came to my mind as we were talking, and I was like, man, I probably should have looked at that one a little bit more, or I really should have said this one. But that's the good thing about music, right? Even some songs we get tired of every once in a while, and then sometimes we bring it back. We listen to it 5 days in a row. So good job. Now, the next time we have you gentlemen on, top 3 managers of all time. Top 3 managers of all time. Managers / ballets of all time. Let's say that. So that should be a fairly good one as well. A lot of choices there. So there's maybe not in the more recent years, but definitely in the history of pro wrestling, there's been tons of great people that can add to that list. So next time we have y'all on, that's what it'll be. Top 3 managers / valets of all time. So, all right. For everyone out there, make sure you're doing everything you need to do. Go watch some wrestling shows. Aaron, you got some coming up? What are you going to go see?
Probably going to end up seeing some AEW right down the road from where I live here in Indy. And then also right behind that, we've got Fastlane coming to town here in October. So I'm pretty pumped for both of those. So I'm hoping to make both. And if so, I'd love to maybe do a review show if that's possible.
I need to get to an AEW show once.
Yep.
I do. I still have not been able to get. I know they're coming to Nashville soon. I think right after Indianapolis. I think it's like the next week or something, or the week before. I really need to. It's just I feel like every time they're kind of close, it's kind of hard to get away to go to that. But I need to get to an AEW show. To me, it's not fair to fully judge a product without ever having to see the product live and feel it for yourself. So got that. Hopefully, for us, Owensboro, Kentucky's got OVW coming this Friday in a pop-up show. I was able to go see one of those recently in Madisonville, Kentucky, and they were free to the public. So it was very good. They went about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, and nothing was too crazy. It was just for fun, and they had a lot of fun. It was really good. And then, of course, we got NWA coming close to St. Louis for the 75th anniversary show coming up, and then, of course, a lot of other shows as well. JR, you got any wrestling in your future? I know you're going to St. Louis, but you're going to go watch the Cubs and Cardinals, correct?
Yes, sir. As far as wrestling comes, I don't really have any on the docket right now. I'm not to say that something come close to me or the opportunity, presented itself, I would go. Just got a lot going on with my band and things like that. I'm a multi event taker such as yourself, Mr. Bestseller, and even your family tree is starting to adapt that. Congratulations on that. But again, the opportunity presents itself. I'm going to go to a show pretty soon. I need to get that wrestling bug again.
Yeah. Tom, what you got going on?
Not much. I got vacation this week. Gonna go through a lot of the the action figures that I have collected over the last few months and haven't done anything with. So I'm excited to do that, but it's also going to be a chore. So
The chores. That's what I'll collect a lot of stuff.
Speaking of which,
What's
I want to interrupt for a minute. I got a little something for Tom here that he might make a trip.
yeah,
Got this in my hand waiting on you.
yeah, I got to get up there.
The elusive Eric Bischoff.
He has been looking for that Eric Bischoff figure. He has been looking for that.
Yeah.
It's a must-have.
I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for Eric Bischoff as a must-have figure. I tell you what, though, I think I am going to order the heel set. That's the micro brawlers that's coming out. They just that started this. What'd you say? 2 weeks.
Pre-order starts Wednesday. Pre-order starts Wednesday. It'll be for like 2 weeks, I think. So plenty of opportunity for people to jump on board with that one. Because the way I understand it, it's open for 2 weeks. If it gets ordered, it gets made. So.
And if anyone has not watched the television show Heels yet, season 2 is upcoming. I think it's this weekend, right? The 28th.
I think it's this weekend.
Yeah, it's this week. Watch that show because the first season was fantastic, and I need a television drama about pro wrestling to continue on my television. That's, to me, it's like a great concept. Stephen Amell's fantastic. I've loved him since Arrow. It does have some real pro wrestlers on there. CM Punk's involved. AJ Lee's even on this season as well. So make sure to check out Heels on Stars as well. And I have been watching Monster Factory on Apple Plus. over the last couple of nights, and I'm really enjoying that. It's got former guest Gabby Ortiz is featured on that show, along with the notorious Nemi, and so it's a great concept. Takes you a little bit behind the scenes and lets you see what's kind of going on in their life. Even follows Mimi as she was going toward her WWE tryout, and they're only 30-minute episodes, so it's real quick. It's nothing that you have to invest your whole night in. And then, of course, Dark Side of the Ring as well. It's been a really good season. I think the Marty Jannetty episode is upcoming, and I know a lot of people have been talking heavily about that. This season so far, the Graham family story was fantastic, I thought. Junkyard Dog and Doink were both very interesting as well. So if y'all haven't seen any of the Dark Side of the Ring, you can catch those actually on YouTube. They'll actually replay those on YouTube. Just type in Dark Side of the Ring Season 4, and someone's definitely got them up if you don't have Vice. So it gives you something to watch with wrestling without having to watch wrestling in a way. So kind of helps y'all out. So, like I said, make sure y'all staying healthy so you can go out and watch all the pro wrestling that you can. And make sure you hit the subscribe button for myself, Tom. We always greatly appreciate all the support we can get as well. Also, if you haven't picked up a copy of Ascending to Queendom, do that. And if you ain't picked up a copy of my daughter's book, Treat Dreams, do that as well. For myself, Tom, Aaron, and JR, we appreciate y'all greatly. Thank y'all, and enjoy your week.